The next question is on the marital act. And so this person was asking about the concept of the marital act or conjugal rights, as Aquinas puts it. They said that they heard from Christopher West that women are almost always right when they turn husbands down. Doubt that he said that. Yeah, it's a woman actually. She's asking about like when it's okay to turn a wife down and when it's okay for a wife to turn a husband down and what husbands should do in that situation.
Okay. Now, I'm with you, Josiah, that I think that's probably a misread of Christopher West. I know him personally, have known him very long, and I don't believe that that's something that he teaches. And so just to put that out in the clear, I think that's probably a misunderstanding. I think where he's probably coming at this from is in Pope John Paul II's book, Love and Responsibility. The Holy Father spends a good time talking about female frigidity within marriage. And he talks about it. Sometimes it is the responsibility of the woman, and it is her fault that she's frigid towards the man. But John Paul does point out more often than not, it's often the fruit of a man's selfishness in the bedroom that she becomes frigid toward him because he seeks to gain his own interest in the sexual act without fulfilling her. And if that builds up, the cumulative weight of a man who seeks only his own pleasure in the marital act will create a lot of resentment in the bedroom that eventually breeds frigidity in the woman. And so a lot of times when a woman reads Pope John Paul II sharing the insights on this, it's like, oh my gosh, this celibate bishop from Rome understands why I don't want to be touched by my husband, when every time we do, it's almost with this brutal desire to satisfy his own yearnings for me without any really regard for where I'm at in this act or the timing or anything. And so a lot of resentment can be brewing there. And so John Paul does a masterful job in pointing that out. But he also says that sometimes there could be culpability on the part of the woman towards her frigidity. Maybe there's some healing that needs to take place there that she's not dealing with. Or maybe she grew up realizing that a woman's sexuality has a lot of power and she can control with her sexuality a man by giving it or withholding it. And so instead of it becoming a gift, it becomes a tool to manipulate. I can hold this and have power or sway over you. I can punish you or reward you by giving this to you or not giving it to you. And this gift could be misused by the woman. So the idea that it's always, the woman's right to just say no to the man, I'm not interested. I remember a woman emailing me once and saying, I don't think I should ever have to do that with my husband unless I am 110% in the mood for that. And if I'm not 110% in the mood, then it's wrong for me even to ask. And it's hard coming from the guy's perspective of challenging a woman on this. I said, I don't know the last time I really wanted to do the dishes 110%, for her, or clean the kitchen for her like I did this morning, or do this for her this morning. Like a lot of love in marriage isn't because I'm so into this, but it's just like, no, this is an act of the will that, as John Paul said, consists of preferring the good of other to the good of oneself. That's what love is. And so sometimes maybe if it's not on the top of your to-do list, but it really makes him feel connected and desired and wanted and seen and noticed and loved, that can be an expression of love, even if it's not on the top of your to-do list. But I think there needs to be mutual submission in this regard of the husband realizing, hey, she woke up with a kid peeing on her, and then another one breastfeeding on her, and then another one came in and threw up in her bed, and then she woke up and she had a baby in her arms, and this one's crying, and then she's stirring the scrambled eggs, and then this kid wants this, that, and so it's 9:00 at night, and my husband wants to be romantic, and I have not been not touched for 12 hours straight, and now he wants to touch me. Whereas where the husband's coming from, he woke her up, gave her a kiss, headed off to work, and hasn't touched anyone all day except for a handshake with some board member at work. And he comes home with this beautiful wife, and he wants to feel touched and loved and exchange that gift. And if they can both understand where each other is coming from, hopefully the husband say, you know what? I can see she's fried. And I think she would feel so much more loved if I picked up a vacuum than I picked up her and carried her across the threshold. That would make her feel loved. And, maybe tomorrow she'll realize, wow, he really sees me in my distress. He notices, he steps up in that place and makes her want to be more open, I think, towards him. And so to me, there has to be give and take as opposed to she's always in the right when she says no, because sometimes she's in the wrong. You know, and there could be selfishness there, just as there could be selfishness on the behalf of the man by demanding it without realizing where she's coming from. But that's my male take on this whole issue. Christina, what's a woman's take on this issue? The idea of a marital debt that Paul talks about, that your body doesn't belong to you, it belongs to me. Mine doesn't belong to me, belongs to you. What are your thoughts from a woman's perspective?
There's truth in that, but I would go back and just challenge you, and even married couples out there. Where's your connectedness at? Like a lot of married couples overlook, like, where are we at right now? When's the last time we sat and looked in each other's eyes and actually had a conversation, and not just like in passing or on the phone or texting, like really connected with your spouse and going and doing something and getting out of the home and getting away from the children or getting away from the work or the hobbies and recreation and just being together and really talking about these things. Because a lot of the time, if you just talk and you connect and you kind of just meet each other where you're at, this is a true, loving, godly relationship. Things can be figured out, and you can just say, well, maybe I'm hurt with this, or I resent that, or spending too much time here, or doing this there. Like, just get it all out, like verbally vomit and tell them what's wrong, each of you, and come to an agreement and just see where your connectedness is at first. Because a lot of the time, you're completely disconnected and you're both just not going the opposite ways, and it's just not good. And where's God in that too? Is he anywhere? Are you praying together? Are you going to mass or adoration? Like, where are those things? Because first and foremost is God in between your marriage, right? And then the second is your husband or your wife, and just being connected. So I would challenge you to go and get out of the element that you're in now with your spouse and go talk to them and connect with them and see where they're at. And maybe you need counseling. Maybe you're having serious marital problems and there's some things in between you that really need to get hashed out and demon slayed. You never know what's going on, but just be honest and have a sober conversation with your spouse about what is happening if there are such problems in the bedroom.
Yeah. And if there's prolonged times of abstinence in the marriage, that's against the will of God, in the sense that the devil wants to isolate you so that he can act, because the marital act of sexual intimacy, of consummating, renewing your vows in the flesh. I remember hearing a priest once say it's actually serves like a minor exorcism. And it's like, whoa, what he was saying is that bond between a husband and wife is so profoundly rooted in the image of God, of the inner life of the Trinity, that the devil cannot stand it. And it is so repugnant to him, because how it images this eternal life-giving exchange of love of the Blessed Trinity, he can't even be around when it's being exchanged as God intended it to be. And so sometimes if there's a spirit of disconnection, of division, of disunity, of miscommunication, and all these things, the marital act is a gift of God that can sometimes drive that stuff away and give you clarity of thought to help resolve some issues. But it could be misused where we're just throwing sex at all our problems instead of actually learning how to communicate and problem solve and teamwork. So to me, there's a give and take of like, yep, we have been far away from each other from way too long. Something's going on here. As our pastor calls him, good old hairy legs is not far away. And he's wanting to create that division. And granted, there are times of marriage where there could be long seasons of abstinence that could be required for legitimate reasons in marriage. So you got to discern that. And sometimes this needs to happen. Sometimes periods of healing or whatever, emotional or physical. But yeah, if there isn't some profound period of psychological or physical healing needed behind the abstinence, and it's just a prolonged resentment or bitterness or brooding over injury, then it's a time to seek some marital counseling. And sometimes these issues get resolved by becoming intimate with one another, and it gives you a new clarity, a new sense of connection. So
they have JP2 healing.
The John Paul II Healing Center, Dr. Bob Schutz, Sister Miriam James.
Yes.
I mean,
oh my gosh, any of their programs that you can do there right there in your home with your spouse, or go somewhere and do them together, and they're just awesome. So if you're really having a lot of problems, you might even just want to start there. If you're maybe don't want to go get a counselor right away, or just can open those doors of communication, connectedness, just everything that you need is just kind of right there. So I would look into their programs as well.
We've gone on the marriage retreat, and it was awesome. They kind of travel around the country and do these for parishes, or you can go to Tallahassee, Florida sometimes and do them there. But
do it.
It's good stuff. Yeah, John Paul II Healing Center, Dr. Bob Schutz, Sister Miriam James, good stuff.